Scallops?
All set, please.
Awesome. Hey, is this the wine for the show tonight?
That's it, one of my favorites.
All right, thanks, Liz. Thank you.
I'm ready.
Her smile, the brightest of summer skies. Her walk floats like the butterflies. Say cheers and toast to a beautiful girl. And I finally see what I was really meant to be. And all paths that led right to where I stand. And this is who I am.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming your host, Elizabeth Bramwell.
Welcome to Rustic Kitchen. Very special show for you this evening. Very simple, very easy, all things you can do at home and if you're having a party, days in advance. And essentially what I'll be demonstrating for you for dinner is perfectly seared scallops over spring vegetable risotto and then topped with a citrus salad. So before I get started, I do want to introduce to you my assistant. If you guys need anything, do not hesitate to ask. But I do want you guys to give him the same warm welcome that you gave to me, to my assistant, Pepe. So this is our Fuego Arancio. This is a 2011 Italian Chardonnay from Sicily. It pairs perfectly with seafood as well as with vegetable, pasta dishes, anything on the lighter side, surprisingly enough, right? Does anyone remember what we'll be enjoying this evening?
Scallops.
Seafood?
Risotto.
Pasta?
Salad.
And vegetables. You guys are so good. All right, let's have a cheers. Cheers to adults. Shall we get started? Yes? Perfect. How many of you make risotto at home? How many of you make successful risotto at home? So we have one. Successful? Occasionally? All right. I shall teach you. One of the first things that I'm going to address this evening is going to be the stock that is involved with our risotto. I have chicken stock back here. To this chicken stock, I will be adding lemongrass, lemon, and thyme. All right? One of the first things I'm going to put in it is going to be a lemon. How many of you have seen a lemon? A lemon. If you don't raise your hand, I'll know you're lying. All right, perfect. So, lemon goes in. I'm going to leave the skins on. I'm going to let the seeds go in as well, right? Some of the oils and the skins of a lemon are relatively important to what we're doing here. How many of you have used lemongrass? How many of you have seen lemongrass? How many of you have eaten in a Chinese food restaurant? And you've all eaten lemongrass. You may not have seen it, but it was definitely in there, all right? This is lemongrass. Ellen, tell me how you feel about lemongrass, eating it. First thing that comes to mind when you think of eating lemongrass.
It's flavorful.
Flavorful?
Gritty-ish.
It's gritty. It's hard to eat.
Yeah.
It's not something that you should consume. You don't exactly pull a piece of lemongrass out of your food and start gnawing on it. You do resemble a farm animal when things like that happen, so it's usually something we try and remove from the food before you consume it, right? I'm sending the tops around to you guys because they are just a little less useful to me. And then what I'm doing is splitting the bottoms, and these are gonna go right into my stock. So what you wanna do is kind of beat the inside of the lemongrass. Just brings out the oils, all right? Makes it smell even better. And these are going right into the pot. All right, so lemongrass is in. Next thing that I'm gonna put in there, very simply, is thyme. How many of you use fresh herbs? Good, so a good percentage of you. I personally prefer using fresh herbs over dried herbs if they are available to you. Fresh herbs are something that I find people don't use enough of. If you have the opportunity to pass over all the dried stuff that's been sitting in your cabinet for 6 years, and use maybe something from Steph's house, her massive herb garden. You should. I actually have a kitchen tip on fresh herbs, using fresh and dried herbs. It's on our website, thecookingshow.tv. So you guys should check it out, watch it, and let me know what you think. Back to the stock. I do want to throw some of my thyme in here. Again, keep in mind the seeds, the lemongrass, as well as the thyme. All of that will be strained out when you use your stock for your risotto, all right? And that's it. That's it for my broth.
Liz, I got a question for you. If we were to go home and try to make this recipe ourselves, where could we find all the information for what we need and how long to cook it?
So what you're asking me for, Jamie, is a recipe.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. All right, so for all the recipes this evening and recipes from my past 4 years, you go to our website, thecookingshow.tv, and everything is there. Coming up next, I'll show you how to make the risotto. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So let's get started on our risotto. When you girls and one guy make your risotto at home, do you start it with some sort of onion? Yay or nay? Yes. Yay, yay, yay. Yay. Oh, you guys all do it correctly. Love that. All right, so I am just small dicing an onion. This is when I'm going to start my risotto. We're going to sweat the onion, right? We're not really going to caramelize it too much because we're not looking for color. Do you ever notice that risotto is just kind of the beautiful kind of white color, right? I have my pan here. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to bring the board to my pan. A little bit of butter in there, just a tiny bit. Don't worry, I'm going to add like another pound later. And I just want to get my onions into the pan. Will you crank me up on high, Peps? So, onions are in, sweating. What does sweating do for the onion? Tell me. Say that again?
Sweetens it.
It sweetens it. What else does sweating do for the onion?
Releases the flavor.
It does release the flavor, yes. You've been awfully quiet, and I love that pocket square.
I was hoping to be on TV.
We're gonna
Even you have to make fun of me.
It's just so easy.
Right.
You would think the people you're paying would do it.
I'm not poking at anything. I really like that pocket square. Cheers. And since we are going to cook this for another 15, maybe 20 minutes, we don't have to go so far as to cook the onion all the way, right? To this pan, I'm going to add my risotto rice. At this time, I'm using arborio, right? So there are two kinds of risotto rice. There is carnaroli and there is arborio, right? Slightly different size, slightly different shape. Now, the reason why I'm adding the rice to the pan at this time is to toast it, right? So, Katie, when you made risotto,
I don't know what to glaze means. So I don't know.
Way too technical. Way too technical.
It was basic.
when you made your risotto, did you toast your rice?
I did.
Perfect.
Oh, I was supposed to?
I know.
I
People
thought it was
never
the wrong
think about
answer.
No.
There are no wrong answers.
There are no, that's right. Okay. When you eat rice, is it crunchy?
I know you want risotto a little crunchy, right?
What?
It's just my risotto a little crunchy.
That's all right. Katie. You.
Our risotto. Good man. Good save.
What a guy. Katie, you and Jay are textural people. Sometimes your risotto is a little crunchy. Now, your risotto should have a bite. It should be al dente, but it should not be crunchy. Okay. So it's kind of like, you figure it out, you know?
So many years.
So, let's deglaze. I'm gonna put in a half a cup's worth of white wine. And that is gonna get any of the fat that's stuck to the bottom of the pan into our rice. Now, what's the rule of thumb when cooking with wine? Sherry, I can see you're enjoying it right now. Cheers.
You you use what you would drink with.
Exactly. So, you should never cook with something that you would not consume yourself unless it's for somebody that you don't like, and then it doesn't matter. Okay? Yes. The onion is in, the rice is in, a little bit of fat is in there. We have deglazed, and now I'm going to start adding my stock. All right? I'm starting with 4 ladles of stock. Now, leaving your stock on the back burner, warm or hot is ideal, right? Because at any point you don't want to involve cold stock in a warm cooking process. Cooking risotto rice should take about 15 to 20 minutes maximum, 20 assuming that you're being a little less efficient. Maybe you're drinking a little too much and maybe you're not paying any attention to what you're making, right? So I'm gonna turn this down. We're gonna let this simmer relatively slow. Peps is gonna keep an eye on it. Tim and Teresa, I'm gonna ask you guys to do me a little favor. Keep a third eye on this if the pan starts to get dry. If the pan starts to get dry, let me know. All right? Otherwise, that pocket square. Just saying. I have some beautiful baby heirloom carrots here. How many of you have a garden? Like a real garden with carrots in it?
My carrots never grow.
Used to? So you totally have one. Guys, you're doing a terrible job. Did they? All right, so a little more stock here. Just letting our risotto go. So the first thing that I want to do is peel these baby carrots, right? I am a fan of utilizing as much of the vegetable as I possibly can. All right, so in my restaurant, we would save the tops, of course. Take them, fold them into a salad, something of that nature, right? They're totally edible. Or let's say you don't want to eat them. Let's say you're just kind of a little picky right off the bat. If you have a backyard, right, you can just throw them out into the yard. If you have a compost pile, even better, right? Maybe if you have a small child that needs like entertainment, you give them a carrot top and they're good to go for at least 10 minutes. How many of you have been cooking at home and wished you could just sweep everything onto the floor and then somebody else would pick up after you? Mine's a reality, guys. Mine's a reality. No, so, let's get rid of the bottoms of these little baby carrots and let's just split them the long way. By all means, you can cut them however you would like. And then we're gonna save them. We're gonna blanch them.
Liz? Yeah. What is blanching?
Blanching. Good. Did you need to know? All right, perfect. Blanching is essentially an initial cooking process. All right, so there's blanching and shocking. Let's use our asparagus for example. Asparagus into seasoned boiling water, leave it for about 30 seconds, pull it out, put it into ice water. That's a shocking process, and then from there the cooking stops. It's an initial cooking process, and it's also for preservation of color of whatever you are par cooking. All right, so on to my other veggies. I have some sugar snap peas. I'm just gonna cut these on a slight bias. The reason why is because they're prettier this way. That's it. Attractive looking peas.
Good enough for a guy.
Right? I was like, dude, it's because they look good. I don't know what else to tell you. I also have some English peas here in the front. I'm just gonna leave those as is. I have some chives that I do want to involve in the mix. These will also be added towards the end. My risotto is doing relatively well. All right, so just slicing these. The last thing I'm going to deal with is going to be my mushrooms. So I have some shiitake mushrooms here, right? A flavor-friendly mushroom that can be used in almost anything. All right, so shiitake mushrooms, slicing it in relatively large size. Since I'm not going to sear these mushrooms, I do want to make sure that they will last in my risotto. You should
need
not.
a slow-mo on the cutting.
Cassie, I'm gonna need a ridiculous close-up on the cutting board.
She's so good at it.
And slow. Look at her.
Ready? See this? Huh?
You're not even looking.
I think it's
Your knife should always ride your knuckles, all right? If you're holding stuff like this, that's your first issue right there. At this point, I'm gonna start by blanching my vegetables. In addition to blanching being an initial cooking process, it's also an initial seasoning process, all right? So, veggies are gonna go in the water. My water tastes like the ocean. We're gonna leave those in there for, I'm gonna say less than a minute before we strain them out. And to my risotto, I'm gonna add my sugar snap peas, my chives, and my shiitake mushrooms. All right, so let's get rid of the water for our veggies here. So I'm gonna add a little more liquid to my risotto, and then at this point I'm gonna add my dairy. So at this point in time, I have not added salt or pepper to my risotto. Why? Why would I have not seasoned my risotto by now? Nothing in this pan.
You have chicken stock.
And?
Come on, help me.
Flavors. It's already fat.
So my chicken stock has a lot of flavor, yes.
A lot of seasoning.
Why else would I have not seasoned my risotto? That's right. I'm not done yet. I'm not done. When it comes to a risotto, you don't season until the very end. The cheese and the butter and blanched vegetables and your stock all have flavor and fat. The cheese especially has quite a bit of salt in it, right? So you should always wait until the very end to adjust the seasoning of a risotto. I'm gonna add 2 different cheeses to my risotto. One is mascarpone. Yummy. Mascarpone cheese is gonna give me that creamy texture, right? Gonna add a little more butter here, just a smidge. And then of course, it's not very much. Trust me, it's not. Julia Child, if you are afraid of butter, use cream. And then of course, Parmesan cheese, a classic for any risotto. Parmesan cheese does 2 things. It acts as a binder, and it also seasons our risotto. So I'm mixing in my parm, all right? So my chives, my mushrooms, and my snaps are in here. I'm gonna add some English peas at this point in time, right? A little fistful. More peas, please. So let me add my carrots and my asparagus. Don't be scared. Finishing my risotto. I just seasoned it, salt and pepper. I have my Parmesan cheese, I have my mascarpone cheese. I obviously have my risotto rice in there. My carrots, my asparagus, my English peas, my snap peas, my shiitake mushrooms, and then of course my chives. So my risotto is finished. When we come back, I'll show you how to perfectly sear a scallop. Welcome back. Now we're gonna sear our scallops. I have these 4 gorgeous U10 scallops. What does U10 mean?
10 to a pound.
10 to a pound. U10, 10 scallops to a pound. That is a diesel-sized scallop. We're gonna season them with salt and pepper, right? Now I'm using olive oil. I'm being relatively aggressive. I do wanna make sure that I get some nice caramelization on that one side. Most people do not realize that the best way to consume a scallop is when it is medium rare. In fact, the best scallop I've ever eaten was completely rare. You want to make sure that the oil in your pan comes up to the smoking point, which mine is at that now. All right. Now guys, I can see all of you have food in front of you. I encourage you to eat it while it's nice and hot. All right, question for all of you. How many of you have eaten scallops? Okay. These beautiful specimens, I found them on the beach. And I brought them to work with me today. How many of you have actually seen a scallop in the shell? Quite a few of you. That's actually very nice, right? Well, in person, not on television. How many of you have seen a scallop with a shell on in person for a sea scallop, not just a bay scallop? A few different types of scallops we have. Bay scallops, rock scallops, and then sea scallops like this. I'm sure you guys have seen several different sizes, right? Now a scallop is something that you can find in every ocean on this planet. They are everywhere.
Look at the size of that sucker.
I know, right? And these aren't even like the biggest ones I've ever seen. Now, one thing that you have to keep in mind, we could have a size discussion later if you'd like. Now, one of the reasons why you don't see the scallop in the shell is because the boats are only allowed a certain amount of poundage back on shore. So 50% of the weight of the scallop is the shell. If they're only allowed 100 pounds, 50% of it is not gonna be the shell. They shuck them on board, they toss the shells into the ocean, and they come back with only our edible part as far as poundage goes, right? Makes sense, right? Everybody's gotta make $1. $1.50. Now, few little factoids that you may not know about scallops, right? The word scallop comes from the French word escalope, which means shell, right? That would make sense. Scallop, shell, why not? When it comes to scallops, you don't always have to cook them. Scallops are fully edible in their raw state. I'm sure some of you in the summertime have seen scallop ceviche. I actually prefer my scallops slivered very thin, without citrus, just seasoned slightly. Also, scallops can live to be up to 20 years old. So I have my pea tendrils here, pea greens. They are in season, and you should consume them as much as possible. How many of you have eaten pea greens? Dave, wait, Winnie. Both of you at the same time, please tell me what a pea green tastes like.
Tender and sweet.
And tastes like a what? Yes, Mark, they taste like peas. Taste like peas. So, I'm putting all of my pea greens in here.
That's what nephews are for, to make you embarrassed.
I'm putting my pea greens in this bowl, and I have a clementine. So, cut this off, and then I'm just going to supreme my clementine, right? Cut the little wedges out. I only need a couple for my salad. Little salt and pepper. Tiny bit of oil. Little lemon juice. Let's check our scallops. Don't want them to get too dark. So, flipping my scallops over here, I'm going to turn my pan off because at this point I just want them to coast. All right, so off. Let's throw some butter in this pan. Let's throw a little bit of fresh thyme in here as well, right? Now we're just butter basting these scallops just slightly, right? So adding that fat to the pan with that little bit of thyme. Just gonna help it coast through, right? They look pretty good. Perfect. Our scallops are finished. When we come back, I'll show you how to plate up. Welcome back. Now it's time to plate up. Yeah, how's dinner?
Delicious.
Good. All right, so.
I don't know how you got it from that pot to my plate, but it's very good.
Thank you. Risotto's in the pan. Let's get 3 of these. Now, you can obviously leave the thyme on here if you'd like. All right, so let's get my little salad here on top. Okay, let's make sure I obviously got scallops on top. What do you think, guys?
Those were the best scallops I've ever had. Thank you.
Join us next time on The Cooking Show. For more information and tickets, go to our website, thecookingshow.tv.